There are 5 things I always check before I start embroidering. Hi, I'm Sarah from sewingmastery.com, and we're doing all the free video tutorials on the Husqvarna Viking Designer Epic 3. There is a link in the description below to the complete playlist of all the free video tutorials. And below that are links to all of our online courses that we recommend for our Epic 3 owners. So I hope you'll check those out. There's a lot of information that will help you master this machine from corner to corner, from the sewing side to the embroidery side, and also push your limits beyond what is written in the manual. So I like to always have students of mine do these 5 things to check before they start embroidery. Now I've just hooped up some fabric. I put my name on the screen just to have something. We're not going to stitch it out, but these are things that I always do before I start a new project. So number 1, when was the last time you changed your needle? Now, I like to have a pack of 100 embroidery needles, and that helps me change out needles more often because number 1, I'm not counting. If you have a pack of 5, I feel like our students kind of go, ooh, well, I'll use this one for a little longer. If you have a pack of 100, you're used to changing them a little bit more. I know this one says FOF, but I'll put a link below where you can find a 100 pack of needles and get them ordered and shipped to you. I do use a lot of size 90-14 embroidery needles, but a lot of students also enjoy 75-11. So whatever is good for you, there is an 80/12 needle. That would also be a wonderful embroidery size to have that many of, but start there. Next, before you even get to putting your hoop on, let's double check that you have cleaned out underneath your throat plate and switched your throat plate to the single hole throat plate. So those are just some basic things. And if you find yourself needing a new bobbin, let's just fill that up so we don't have to stop in the middle and switch it. So needles, cleaning, and also straight stitch throat plate. Okay, so now we're ready to stitch out. I'm going to touch the stitch out screen. And one of the things people are always asking me too is, where do I see the center of the design? Now, I don't do it on the previous screen. I honestly live in the exact positioning area of the stitch out screen. So I don't even hoop my fabric straight. I rarely even worry about where the design is on my screen when I bring it in. I just go right to exact positioning. And we do have a course. It's by its original name, the Husqvarna Viking Design Positioning Masterclass, which helps you be able to position, place, and use all the wonderful features to the fullest. We have a whole cloth quilt you actually create. You start with the basic 6 hooping sampler, and then you graduate up to the 20 hoop full whole cloth quilt. And those designs are included in that course. And as all of our courses have, there are free videos that you can watch to see if that course is right for you before you enroll. Okay, so the main reason I wanted to bring you to the design positioning, or exact positioning as it's called, is because one of our options is to find the center of our design. And when you touch the center of the design, move over to step 2. Okay, the one with the little hoop picture. And that means that if you've drawn on your fabric your plus, the center, this is the way that you can actually then move the design to the marked area of your fabric. So that's why I don't worry about it beforehand. Okay, so if you have hooped fairly straight and you just need to know that your needle is going to be in the center when it starts, this is the easiest way to do it. The next thing I'd like to do is just double check what and where the corners are going to be. So these 4 corners around the center here, it's going to, as you touch them, the needle is going to travel to that corner. So I call this checking the corners, or checking the perimeter of your design. So just in case you didn't visualize that it was going to come too close to something else, or is it high enough on your fabric or too low, or where is it going to stitch? This is like your final double check. Now I'm going to tell you a quick story. I remember when I was younger, I got to work at a commercial embroiderer. And we always, this was, I mean, because we were embroidering on things that people had brought us. So it's not like I could just go and replace it if I goofed. Checking the corners was like the absolute last thing that we did to make sure it was positioned correctly, because taking out stitches is one thing you never want to have to do. Now, there was one time I was putting monograms on a gentleman's cuff, and I had it on screen and I had it all checked and marked, except I had forgotten to rotate it 180 degrees so the design was facing him, the monogram, not facing out to his clientele. Yeah, I did have to take a few stitches out because it started on the wrong, it started over here, and all the other shirts I had done for him had started over here. And yeah, because it's supposed to be upside down, right? Okay, so yes, corner to corner check, but double check, are you right side or facing the right direction once, especially if you've hooped something sideways. Turn your head so you can double check that. Okay, so once you have everything located where you want, confirm with the check mark on the top. And the last thing I like to remind my students to do is make sure that your stop button right here has a light on it. So this little X with the stop sign, if that is off, now you can kind of see on the screen, it turns from, like these letters are bluish. If this is not lit up, it turns gray. Gray means that it's going to stitch everything in one color. Now, I will tell you with lettering, that is exactly what you want as a monochrome feature. So in other words, so it doesn't stop at each of the letters, as it's showing that there are 4 stops in this design. You would want to turn it to be the one color design. But if this wasn't lettering and it was a design that had, say, 10 color changes and this light wasn't on, that means it's going to stitch the entire design without stopping. And that's usually not the thing that you want. So if you are one to walk away from your machine and you come back and you're 3 colors in, you have accidentally turned off the color stop. Now, the reason I point this out as the last thing to double check, you know, do you want it on or do you want it off? Most of the time we want it on because of the color changes. But sometimes when you're sewing along and you're looking for a way to stop the machine, people will sometimes push the stop button. They take the stops off, turn it to a monochrome and don't realize that they've done it, and then it doesn't stop for those color changes. So that is my 5th and final recommendation, things that I check. That is it going to be a monochrome design, or is it supposed to be not? It's supposed to be colorful with color changes. All right. Checking the corners, make sure that you have the right hoop selected, which I did when I started. I didn't mention that, but that's another thing. Otherwise, the machine kind of gets mad at you, which I like, because if I put the wrong hoop on, it does tell me, hey, back up. You don't have the right hoop attached that you told me you're using. So kind of that, the machine is double checking you, okay? Put that new needle in. When was the last time you cleaned out under the throat plate? And make sure you have the single hole throat plate on for your embroidery project. I hope this has been helpful, and if it has, make sure you're clicking like on all the videos that you watch. That is your way of saying thank you for the free content, and I hope to have you in one of our online courses soon. So check out all the course recommendations we have in the description below. Happy sewing!